MacKinnon has been radically transformed, and yet we still value it. And so I think that's a really helpful lesson. Our engagements can be creative and can create landscapes of value. I'm Stunden Bower. I'm an associate professor in the Department of History and Classics at the University of Alberta, and I study the environmental history of the Prairie West. MacKinnon is interesting. It didn't look like the other ravines I was visiting. It didn't look like Milk Creek. It didn't look like White Mud Ravine. And so I wondered why it was that way. MacKinnon Ravine looks as it does because it was almost a freeway. MacKinnon, historically, was a heavily treed landscape, and certainly Indigenous peoples would have used it both prior to colonization and right up to the present day. By the 1960s, Edmonton had planned a really extensive system of freeways, with a number of those freeways to run through the river valley and ravine system. Not everybody, even at the time, thought that was a great idea. There was immediate pushback from citizens opposed. There were suggestions that it might be used as a park from pretty early on. Advocacy around MacKinnon Ravine was oriented toward citizens who lived adjacent to the ravine itself. They were involved in advocacy work because of a landscape they valued. They were pretty successful in building public interest, not just in safeguarding the ravine landscape, but also in building public understanding of the need to change decision-making processes at City Hall. It was in the early 1980s that City decided they weren't going to pour concrete in the ravine. Working toward becoming a place where a really representative cross-section of the population can be heard, and where we can take into account the needs not just of humanity, but also of non-human nature in the built and the natural environment. It's very much an ongoing task. You can see the extent to which MacKinnon has been a container for ideas, a container for dreams for Edmontonians throughout generations.